Hello guys, LazyBeast here on the Legion pre-patch, and today what we're going to do is look at some talent builds for the Affliction Warlock, and it's not going to be a full DPS guide because things aren't set in stone and we don't have the item weapon yet. So we're just going to look at the talents, and we're going to look at a questing, leveling, soloing type build, we're going to look at a dungeon build, and we're going to look at a AoE build, which is... Affliction Warlocks can AoE now, so we're going to have a look into that. So let's crack on with the builds. So this is how the Warlock talents kind of break themselves down. So the first two tiers focus on your DPS and ways to improve it. The third tier focuses on a bit of CC and survivability. The fourth tier improves your ways of dealing damage in certain ways. So we can have AoE, we can have single target, and we can have more dots. The fifth row is more about survivability and movement as well, so a bit of utility. Row number 6 is all about pets and either improving your pets, giving you more pets, or getting rid of your pets entirely. And the last tier gives you an option between 2 new abilities or a soul shard regenerator. So what we're going to do, we're going to kick off with the leveling, soloing, questing build. So this build focuses basically on, you get another dot, you get more passives and a more powerful pet. So basically it's quite easy, so you can just plow through the content and crack on without any issues and like absolute minimum downtime. So first of all, we're going to go for Drain Soul. So this works as it did in Warlords. So basically, as you're channeling Drain Soul on a target, if it dies while during the channel, you'll get a soul shard back. So that gives you basically more soul shards to cast your Unstable Affliction, which obviously have your biggest damage and ability. And you can just go and pew everything down. Now, Rather Than Agony is a bit of a bad choice because if you're just killing the average mob, it's not going to be able to ramp up as high as you want it to. And Haunt is just a bit pointless because obviously just Drain Soul is just the best one. Haunt is got a bit of a longish cooldown, kind of, but it's just not as efficient as Drain Soul, and you don't need that other ability on there. So row two, we've got Contagion. So Unstable Affliction increases all damage you do by 15%. We've got Absolute Corruption, which means it's basically just permanent and does 25% more damage. And we've got Mana Tap, which is like a kind of little short cooldown thing where you get rid of your own mana. So we've gone for Contagion here because you're going to be casting Unstable Affliction quite a lot. You're going to be draining your enemy's souls, so you're going to be getting a lot of soul shards coming in. Spend them on Unstable Affliction, even if you only get one stack of this off, because this can stack up to 5 times. The damage is cumulative, so if you cast it once or if you cast it 5 times in a row, you're not going to lose any DPS. So you want to cast this just once, twice, whatever, how many soul shards you've got, and you're going to get that damage increase. So you basically want to have as high uptime on Unstable Affliction as possible when using this talent, which you're going to be able to do with the Drain Soul and stuff. So for the third row, we just basically go for Demon Skin, so you kind of just leech damage up to a maximum of 20% health, and it gives you a bit of a shield. Mortal Coil is okay, but again, it's another ability, something to think about. You don't necessarily need that. The shield is pretty damn strong. And Howl of Terror obviously causes enemies to run in fear. Yeah, it's fine if you're constantly getting swamped and stuff, but again, Demon Skin should give you enough survivability to deal with any damage. So next off we go for Siphon Life, and we've got the option of Sow the Seed, which just improves our AoE basically. We can just put Seed of Corruption on many enemies and it'll consume a soul shard. So it's a big increase to AoE DPS, but we're not going to do much AoE while leveling. And then we've got Soul Harvest, which is a cooldown again, but you're not going to need cooldowns. Maybe if you're doing elites or tough enemies, then maybe this is preferential, but for most encounters, Siphon Life will get you through pretty much fine. So say you're fighting 3 mobs, for example, you've got your dots on and you've got Siphon Life on them all. It's going to give you a nice bit of healing coming through, and you're going to be able to keep up and keep going and just draining them souls. So that's pretty easy. Gives you a third dot as well, so obviously you've got a bit more mobility because you're just casting instant cat dots, and that's all good to go. So next one, we've got the mobility tier. So Warlocks don't have any movement speed increasing abilities except Burning Rush. Now, it's on this tier, which makes it a bit of a tough choice, but Dark Pact and Demonic Circle's not really worth having for leveling, but Dark Pact is. So obviously it's a defensive cooldown, so if you do get overwhelmed with enemies, you can pop this and you're going to have a massive shield up there, as well as your Demon Skin, and you're going to absorb basically a shit ton of damage, and you're going to be able to survive through most things. Next we've got Grimoire of Supremacy, which basically you get rid of your other pets and you can summon a Doom Guard, and that'll just follow you around forever, and he does a bit more damage, and he's got different abilities. So he's got Shadow Lock there, which is an interrupt, which is really useful for stopping people from healing and things, mobs from healing. could have gone with Grimoire of Service, which is another little DPS cooldown, and you can summon a pet based on whatever you want it to do, based on the abilities that you can see on the screen there. But it's just easy to have Supremacy and Sacrifice. Again, it's more about AoE increase, so we don't need that for leveling. And then the last tier, we've got Soul Effigy, which is basically, it would just be a bit of a pain in the ass to keep putting this down whilst you're running around. We've got Phantom Singularity, which again is an AoE ability and it heals you. Again, a little bit pointless, so we've gone with Soul Conduit here. So every Soul Shard you spend has a 20% chance to be refunded. So for example, if you're spamming Unstable Affliction, say you've got 3 Soul Shards in a minute, you spam an Unstable Affliction, there's a chance that Soul Shard will be refunded, so you can just cast another one straight off. It didn't work then, but there you go. So that is our leveling and soloing build. So next up is our AoE build. So Drain Soul basically remains the same. We've got Absolute Corruption now because the AoE ability for Warlocks is Seal of Corruption, and when it blows up, after you put it on a target, after it's taken enough damage, it'll blow up and it'll apply Corruption to every target nearby. So basically, Absolute Corruption will make Corruption permanent. So you can see there, it's like a permanent dot. It's not going to go anywhere. Now, if you've got like a long duration AoE fight, like for example Zul'Harak Mythic, now you're going to be doing a lot of AoE on that fight, so you're going to want Corruption up on you don't want to be basically going around casting your dots on every single enemy like all the time. So Absolute Corruption ensures that whenever a Corruption hits, it's going to stick on that enemy until it's dead. So we've kept Demon Skin the same, I don't need to say much about that. Now we've got Sow the Seeds, right? So Seed of Corruption will now consume a Soul Shard if available to embed Demon Seed in 4 additional nearby enemies. So we can see from here, so I don't currently have a Soul Shard, so let's cast some Agonies on there, just generate a Soul Shard. Okay, so I've got a Soul Shard now, so I'll cast Seed of Corruption, and if you watch it, boom, it's done it on the 3 enemies there. So obviously once they take enough damage, it'll blow up, and look at that splash. So that pact is the same. Now we've gone for Grimoire of Sacrifice this time. Now I'll just go and show you that. Sacrifice our demon, demon's dead. Now we get the buff, which your spells sometimes deal additional shadow damage. So basically a splash damage. So pet's dead on the floor, so let's go for it. So I'll cast Seed of Corruption there again. Put our Agonies up. Now this is basically any of your spells, so you just look at all that damage blowing up there. Now we just drain that guy. And basically, AoE fights, you just basically want to spam you see the Corruption on everybody, and it'll just stop blow up. Have a merry old time. Keep your agony up, and you'll be having a laugh. So you may be thinking, for like an AoE fight, why haven't we gone with Phantom Singularity? And basically it's because it doesn't do its damage up front. So if you have to burst damage, burst AoE, you're not going to get that with this spell because it's over 13.2 seconds and it does decrease with haste, so it deals the damage faster. But obviously if you're talking burst AoE, Zul'Harak, you can probably get away with Phantom Singularity on there. But most of the fights, you just want to be sticking with Soul Conduit, so we get them lovely Soul Shards back, and if there's a priority target in there, which most likely will be on a boss fight, obviously, you can still keep casting your Unstable Afflictions on there and getting your Soul Shards back most of the time. So that concludes our AoE build. So next up is basically the boss fight, and this is pretty much for single target. So we've gone with Rive in Agony. So Agony will basically stack up twice as high, and it'll do double the damage it normally does. So you've got to make sure, especially sure that does not fall off, because that'll lose you a significant amount of DPS. Next we've gone for Contagion, as I mentioned earlier. So that'll obviously, any target that you have Unstable Affliction on, its damage your damage against that target will be increased by 15%, so you want to keep as high uptime as that as possible, so you can kind of cast it, let it tick for a bit, cast it again, and just make sure it's still constantly going away, so you don't have to worry too much there about spamming it and keeping it up as high as possible, because it's still quite a steady tick there. So we've gone for Demon Skin again for the drains, Siphon Life again just for the survivability that brings, and it's just a great ability, another dot. So obviously for heavy movement things, you can run around still, cast your dots off, you do whatever you want, go wherever you need to be. And then we've got Dark Pact again, survivability wise, Grimoire of Service, so obviously we can summon in another Fell Hunter is what you want to be doing really with Affliction, because the more dots you have on the target, the more damage the Fell Hunter will do. So I think it's 10% per dot, so obviously if you've got your Corruption, Siphon Life, Agony, and Unstable Affliction on, he's going to be doing 40% more damage. So you want to keep up. That's another reason to keep up all your dots when your fellow owner is active. And then we've got soul effigy, so I don't have this out currently. So what you want to do, cast this on your current target, and basically you want to put your dots on this as well. Put all 3 dots on it. Well, that's great, it disappears. Well, that's not the best, it disappears, but basically that will persist for 10 minutes or until the enemy dies. So you just basically want to keep your dots up on your soul effigy the whole time until it dies, and that will do 35% of the damage there. Now what you can do is you can keep like 1 stack of unstable affliction on your current target and your soul effigy, and that will obviously make sure that you're doing 15% damage to both your soul effigy and your current target. So it's obviously more DPS coming in there. It doesn't work quite right on the target dummies. It should last forever, basically. So there we go. That's our single target boss fight build. If you are doing a fight with ads and AoE phases, you can switch out to Absolute Corruption again, because that makes it permanent, so it makes it a lot easier. It saves you a lot of global cooldowns when you're refreshing your buffs and whatnot, your debuffs, sorry. So it saves you a lot of time, and you can also switch up potentially Siphon Life to sow the seeds if you've got loads of AoE, like I mentioned Zul'Harak earlier, and maybe even Sacrifice. I'm not too sure. Again, it depends how heavy the AoE is on a fight, but yeah, there you go. This is pretty much your standard raiding setup for your talents. So there we go, guys. That concludes our video on the various Warlock specs. There are more, obviously. Go and experiment, do whatever you feel like, because there's a pretty good set of talents there for the Warlock at the minute. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video. I hope it's been useful to you. Any questions, please comment below, and I'll try to do my best to answer them. And thanks for watching. I will be doing some of these guides for Demonology and Destruction as well, and when we get into Legion, I'll do some proper full in-depth DPS guides, so look out for them if you're interested. Thanks for watching, guys. I've been LaserBeast, and I'll catch you next time.